Soraya, how's it going?
All right, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Normally we meet in the morning, so I say good morning, but it's in the afternoon now, early evening.
Today we're going to be playing with time and space because we're going to be in two places at the same time.
How are we doing that? That sounds very psychedelic.
It's just that kind of a day. So, okay, you're going to have to help me explain what we're doing today. But basically, this is a crossover episode with our friends from the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast.
Yes, and this is part 2. So if you haven't watched part 1,
Listen to,
right? Go back and go to the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, located wherever you find our podcast, YouTube, right. Wherever podcasts are found, and look for the most recent JFJ Conspiracy Podcast. And that's part 1 of our discussion today, which started, Soraya, with this little record that we've covered multiple times, right?
That was our jumping off point. But it led us into a discussion of where some of these cover versions came from their actual genesis.
Yes. So there's 3 cover versions on the new Yep Rock version of Baroque Hoedown. And what we decided to do, because we've been wanting to get back with the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast members and have them on our show. And they had mentioned on one of the episodes, in fact, their last episode, they covered Baroque Hoedown. So that's worth checking out too.
Right.
On an earlier episode, they had mentioned about having us back on their show. So we came up with an idea that we would do a split episode. And this, like you said, this is the jumping off point. And with the 3 covers on here, which are Lucifer Sam, I'm looking at this backwards.
Yeah, Lucifer Sam, Sorry, and Feel a Whole Lot Better.
Yeah, so those are the 3 covers, which originally came from mid to late 60s albums. Mr. Tambourine Man, Feel a Whole Lot Better came from that.
One of my favorites.
Came out in 65 and 66. The Easybeats, which volume 3, where Sorry came from. And then Pink Floyd, Pipers at the Gates of Dawn, came out in 67. So we threw these 3 albums to the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast and said, you pick one, and we'll do that on your episode that you host, and we'll pick one of the other 3, and we'll host that one. So what happened, Soraya?
So what happened was, on the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, all of us sit down to talk about this amazing Pink Floyd album, which is just psychedelic in all its glory. I always get the title wrong,
right?
So I gotta look at my notes so I say it correctly. The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I always want to say something else.
Yeah.
The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, debut album by Pink Floyd. And then on our show, you're going to be hearing our discussion with our friends from the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast about Volume 3 from the Easybeats.
Yes.
So we're going to be dealing with all things Australia, UK, and everything in between, and all set to the tone of a Farfisa beat.
Yeah.
But fun times and great discussion with our friends from the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast. So enjoy. Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
A podcast where the 2 of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a gruviar.
Let's get groovy.
So for all our listeners today, here's your part 2, the hotly requested, but to our friends, Jim, Jerry, and Frank from the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, welcome once again.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
And
yes.
as we mentioned, this is our part 2 where we're going to talk about another classic album. Jeff, what album is that?
So we decided to talk about the Easybeats, Volume 3, which I only have on CD. Again, our jumping off point was the 3 o'clock's Baroque Hoedown, as we've mentioned. There's 3 covers on there. So we have the cover of Lucifer Sam from Pink Floyd. We have
Feel a whole lot better.
A whole lot better from the Birds. Wait, hold on. And then I gotta get the
Go off.
And fantastic product placement there.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty subtle too.
and the Easy Beats Volume 3. So we threw it out to you guys when we made our little pitch if we could crash your party for a little bit, and would love to have you guys on our podcast. And we gave you guys the option of those three bands: Pink Floyd, the Birds, and Easybeats, and which one you would pick. And we just covered one of those. We wanted to know why you guys picked the one that you picked. So, Jerry, I think you might have been one of the first ones to jump on with your pick. Why did you pick Pink Floyd of the three?
Well, based on what Frank said right out of the gate, when we first brought this up a couple of weeks ago, he just said, I think he picked Floyd first before the other two. And then after that, I think you guys picked the Birds, or we somehow. But I'm so happy that it came like this. Folks out in Paisley Land. I would have never bought this album on my own. So I'm glad for this crossover show. So yeah, I would have never bought it on my own. So I'm glad.
That might be a tease what you think about the Easybeats. So we'll see in a second.
Yeah,
Frank, you were the one that jumped on with
Well,
Floyd.
it certainly wasn't going to be the Birds. Yeah. So my first thought was, well, you guys will probably pick the Birds because it is as Paisley as it gets with the jangly guitars.
Jangly.
And I'm familiar with Floyd, so Jim was be exposed or disposed at the time, and so I kind of jumped on Floyd, and then Jim said, well, I guess we're doing Floyd.
Yeah.
So, Jim, any regrets that you guys went with Floyd of the three?
No. And as soon as those three albums came up, I just thought to myself, there's no way on God's green earth that Frank is going to pick the Birds. So I knew the Birds was not even a go for us. It was going to have to be the other two. I would have been happy with any of the three records. Didn't matter to me. So, but I'm glad we did the Pink Floyd. That was. I
am too.
And so if you want to hear us talk about the Pink Floyd record, you got to shoot over to the JFJ Conspiracy Podcast and click on the link over there.
Yep. And Frank, what episode would that be?
Oh, yeah, that'll be episode 113.
Okay, 113. And 112, you guys covered Broke Hoedown. So
Correct.
By 3:00, yeah.
So, Soraya, we didn't go with the Birds, although that probably would have been my inkling. I'm a little bit of a fan of the Birds. Why did we pick the Easybeats?
So we have to, full confession, I am a very big Birds fan as well.
Okay.
So that would have been the easy pick, right?
True.
However, I think I remember a message exchange with Jeff, and I said, let's have some fun. Let's pick the Easybeats. And I think a lot of it is, first of all, it's a band that I didn't get to know until the 3:00 cover. So that was my introduction to the Easybeats. And I've heard Michael Curcio talk many times about the Easybeats and the impact of their music. But also, I think this is a really good band to listen to. And like Jerry said, I wouldn't have found it on my own. And I think there are quite a few people who could say the same thing. Mm-hmm. They're led to it, but it's, some discover it on their own, some don't. And I love the idea of having, we had the main colony, we had Great Britain. Now we have another part of the royal kingdom
territories
yeah. In Australia. And so I just thought it was a great album anyway. So
nice.
There we go.
And what I liked about the fact that when Soraya picked Easybeats, the first thing that I thought of in my mind is George Young, and
right.
I think you guys are that when I watch JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, I know the shop talk is rock. Yeah. So, the connection, of course, is Malcolm and Angus Young from AC/DC. George Young of the Easybeats, of course, is his older brother,
right?
Or their older brother, I should say,
right?
and he passed in I think 2017. George Young, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe he produced AC/DC, at least maybe Dirty Deeds.
He was on there, yeah, very early on. Yeah.
Early.
So I thought that was a good connection between our podcast and yours with AC.
Very smooth.
So, once I did that. So Volume 3, as the name implies, is the band's third release. I was only aware of them by Friday on My Mind, their big hit. And that came out on the album after this. Sorry was the cover version that the 3 O'Clock did, which is the lead off track on Volume 3. And Frank, I know that you've mentioned it before. In Australia, the Easybeats were huge, like as big as the Beatles. In fact, I think I read that they had like 15 top 40 hits, something like that.
That's crazy amount.
Right. And in the States, I think if anybody's familiar with them at all, it might be the oldie station Friday on My Mind. So
that was the one I knew.
Yeah. Yep. Same. So like Soraya, for me, my introduction was hearing the song Sorry from the 3 O'Clock. Soraya, what do you know about the Easybeats or Volume 3?
So one of the things that I found out that's pretty interesting. So this album is released in 1966, and it's considered to be the third and final LP before the band moves to England. They relocate. And if you think about 1966, what's happening in the UK, I mean, it's a huge explosion. They were huge in Australia, and I thought that move was a strategic one. And then sorry, I lost my train of thought, but third and final album, 66, height of the shift towards psychedelia, and we definitely hear some of those sounds in in a lot of the tracks here.
Yes, for sure. So when you say their final album, it's their final album as an Australian, being based
in Australia. Thank you for the correction.
Interestingly, AC/DC did the same thing.
Yes, they did.
When they were starting to pick up traction, they moved to England and lived in London.
Wow. Do you know about what year that was or what period of time?
79-ish, maybe.
Okay.
I want to say it was pre Highway to Hell.
Excuse me.
Okay. So
it came out in 79, so probably 78, 79,
yeah.
So Bon Scott was still
still
in the band when they moved. All right.
Well, you figure you can only do so much, in Australia. You've tapped it, right? So just like the English bands want to come here and get a broader audience, what's the next step? England.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, but about that time, all the English bands were trying to break in the US. So
one step at a time.
Maybe that left an opening for an Australian band to slip in there, right?
Maybe so.
There you go.
They vacated some interest. So I'm curious what you all thought about this album. I think everybody had a chance to listen to this. So let's start with you guys, our guests. Jim, what did you think of Volume 3 by the Easybeats?
I like it. I think if I had to compare the two, I like the production on this much better than I liked it on the Pink Floyd record. The Pink Floyd record just sounds a little thin to me. I don't know, but I think the production's better on this. I thought the arrangements were spot on, and there's a few things I heard, and I probably didn't take good enough notes on this, but there's a few songs that I'm thinking other people have covered.
Oh,
because I'm hearing a song and I'm like thinking I've heard this before, but not this version.
Very familiar guitar riffs,
right? Yeah, or they were just flat out ripped off by other people. That's possible too. I don't know. Yeah, the first time I heard about the Easybeats is when I was reading about AC/DC. Right. And they talked about like, younger brother to, George Young of the Easybeats. And I was like, Easybeats. Okay. Interesting. Australian band. Do you guys remember a band called Flash in the Pan?
Yeah,
I do.
Hey
St. Peter.
Hey St. Peter. That was also George Young and his partner Vanda.
Oh, wow.
They released evidently a string of albums under various pseudonyms, and Flash in the Pan was one of them.
Wow.
I wasn't aware of that. Flash in the Pan, yes, but I wasn't aware that there were
Yeah.
others as well.
Yeah, I think
Maybe,
like
yeah.
3 or 4 other band names that they released. Well, I don't. It seems like that was a hit here, and I think it charted well around the globe. So why you wouldn't continue with that moniker, I don't know.
Yeah,
Jump ship
Well,
to
then-
something else, and no idea.
interesting.
Anyway, back to answering your question. Yeah, I enjoyed the record.
All right. All right, Jerry, what about you? You gave us a little bit of an inkling what you thought. What did you think?
I liked it a lot. There's I don't want to say. It seems towards the end of it, after History, that the songs after that seem to go lo-fi. I don't know if something
This is a
happened.
compilation at that point.
That's what I figured when they started going lo-fi. I go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But as far as a nice 3-minute happy tunes, it's loaded. This album's loaded, Jeffrey. It's loaded with good stuff. Nice little guitars, all 60s, of course, and it takes me back to the 60s, which I guess is what it's supposed to do. But I like this album a lot, and lots of songs. So yes, the Easybeats, Volume 3. I love it.
No complaints here about song length.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet.
I think the longest song was like 2:58. I was like, man, these guys, I love them.
And there's 24 of them, Jim. 24 of them.
Well, I didn't do the extended version. I did like sort of the original release.
Well,
but
still,
Yeah.
that's a ton. Yeah.
that's a ton.
Yeah, so the original release was 13
13.
songs on the original release, and then 24 if you get the expanded CD version. So
Okay.
if you want to hear more about Jim's thoughts on longer songs, go back and listen to part 1 and specifically about the conversation with Interstellar Overdrive. All right.
Yeah.
So Frank, what did you think of Volume 3?
Well, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Unlike Jim, though, I don't care for the production. And again, it's of the time. I thought some of the backing vocals were a little uneven from song to song. But I like the tunes, the guitar riffs are, what drives me. And this whole album is full of it. And overall, actually, even the extended, when Jerry was talking about the song sound, and even the extended version where I believe they took tunes from older discs and different things, it wasn't leveled or anything. They just threw it on there, so it bounces all over the place.
Yeah.
But from song to song, it puts you in a nice happy groove, even though some of the songs aren't the happiest of lyrics, get away from the girl, but it's fun. It's just fun music.
Yeah. When we decided that we were going to do this and we went with the Easybeats, some of these guitar riffs, when I listen to them, I have to think of you, Frank, because I know you're the riff guy. You're all
Oh yeah.
Riff rock. Yep.
Yeah, riff rock. Even though this being released in '66 is probably a little bit earlier than some of the stuff that you guys mostly cover, which typically is mid to late '70s, early '80s. So this is a little bit before the shop talk being rock, right? So it's a little bit more '60s jangly. So Soraya, Volume 3, your thoughts?
I think the 13 tracks are well thought out. And since Jeff, you are the guy that likes to talk about tracking and placement, I think the placement is perfect. The flow is a good flow. This is a good album to listen to, top to bottom. And then the extended version that Jerry was mentioning has a lot of really interesting alternative versions, but also some really interesting covers. And this is just fun, lively music.
Mm-hmm.
And but what's missing from this album is the song that all of you have mentioned, Friday on My Mind. Gone.
Yeah.
So it's a really good exposure to some of the breadth of the band.
Yeah, actually that song came out on their next release.
Right.
Yeah, Good Friday, I think it was called. But if you listen to every single track on the extended version, there is a little medley where they sneak in a little tiny snippet.
Yeah.
But it's just
A snippet.
yeah, just like 3 measures of it or something. You're like, yay! Oh, it's gone. Yeah. So yeah, for me, I'm glad, sorry, that you mentioned the sequence, because that's something that's always sticks out to me, and it seems like the rockers they put up front, as far as what you can call a rocker, for this early 60s vibe, and those early songs like really jump out to me. It's like, oh, I'm all in, because these are I could see how this type of I'm looking at Jim's background, and I could see how this kind of sound was a big influence on some of the mod scene, and I think that's probably why the 3 o'clock picked this up, because they have those kind of chord changes that are abrupt and kind of dun, 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 that kind of stuff, and
right.
yeah, just the energy of some of these early tracks are just great to me. So, do you guys have any favorite tracks? For me, Sorry is my favorite track. It just starts off, and we'll get a little bit into the 3 o'clock version later. So, Jim, were there any while you were listening to this that stood out, or when you were listening to it, did you just listen to it as a whole?
No, there were like kind of 4 standouts. Sorry, I think was actually maybe my favorite track on the record. I liked Funny Feeling a lot. Going Out of My Mind, I really enjoyed, and My.
Yep.
Those were kind of my standouts, I think.
Yeah, same for me. All the same picks. My, when it got to that one, I had to stop and look at what the name of the track was, because it was one that stood out for me as well. Frank, what about you?
Well, here comes all the hypocrite right now. It's coming all out. The song that is most different on this album to me and my favorite is Say You Want Me.
Oh.
Love that tune. And it is not recorded very well, in my opinion. It's got a funny sound to it, but yet the melody and the words and everything, I listen to that song goes on repeat for me. And I enjoyed the whole CD, but I've listened to that one over and over. Really enjoy it. That is my favorite.
Nice. And why did you say that's the hypocrite side?
There's no rocking involved in that song. It's just a nice mellow tune. It's all sappy and
your eyes didn't well up with, or your heart didn't fill up.
I'm not crying.
You're crying. You're crying.
Someone's cutting onions. That's it.
Yeah. Cindy's chopping onions in the next room.
It's getting dusty in here.
That's right.
So your heart didn't grow 3 sizes when you listened to it, did it?
No, sure did. No.
Jerry, what about you? Were there any standout tracks for you on Volume 3?
There were 2, Jeffrey, and if I may, it's You Said That, and then Do You Have a Soul, the alternative version.
Oh.
But yeah, I have all my notes here, and You Said That is a yes. and then Do You Have a Soul alt is yes. And getting back to Frank's song, Say What You Want, I have a question mark by it.
Not for you, huh?
I just have a question mark by it. I don't know if that means I have to listen to it again, or every else I hear have notes. Sounds like Beatles, sounds like the Monkees.
Yes.
That's okay. Like that. Instrumental, like that. Then question mark. But yeah, You Said That, and then Do You Have a Soul? Alt.
Nice.
Great album though. Great Diddy album. Good hooks. Good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned the Beatles and the Monkees. Soraya has that drum head behind her up there. She's a big fan.
Oh yeah.
So definitely you could definitely hear the influences of the time, and certainly of those bands. So
yes,
any fans of early Monkees or early,
it's a great album.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Soraya, any standout tracks for you?
Yeah, and it's 2 tracks that have already been mentioned. So if I'm not picking Sorry, okay, because you already did, You Said That, and My.
My is definitely.
And My is the one that every time I hear it, I'm trying to figure out which Monkey song it's reminding me of. But it's a song that, like, it's infectious.
Yeah.
You can't stop listening to it, or at least I can't. And it's the same with You Said That.
Nice. So I'm guessing that no particular Monkey song has come to the forefront of your brain yet.
A few of them, but nothing. No one yet has said, "Hey, this is a dialogue with this song by the Monkees."
Yeah.
one of the discussion points that we had on your guys' episode, on part 1 of this split episode, we were talking about the 3 o'clock version of the cover, and this
Mhm.
case was Sorry. I'm curious what you guys think about the 3 o'clock version of Sorry versus the Easybeats version of Sorry. So can we dig into that a little bit? So Frank, can you say what you think about the 3 o'clock version?
Again, they did these songs, they did their covers to a T. Now I couldn't tell you about the Birds one because I don't never heard the Birds version, but with the Easy Beats and Pink Floyd, no interest. But with the Easy Beats, they did this to a T almost, and it's already a fantastic song. It's just, Jim's wheelhouse, 2 minutes 34 seconds. It says everything you got to say. It's got a great riff, great beat, and it's out. And the 3 o'clock did it justice just as well. And I don't know what the length is on the 3 o'clock album. I got to check that out, see how they did.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, did you happen to notice the difference in the leads? Wait, because I know you're a lead guy. Right?
I didn't A/B them because I listened to both albums at different times.
Yeah, they're pretty close, but you could hear
Mhm.
Lewis, which might be Greg Gutierrez's brother.
Might be. Yeah. you.
Go back and listen to JFJ Conspiracy Podcast about the Bro Code, and you'll get that. And so, Jim, what did you think about the 2 versions stacked up against each other?
I was surprised at how sort of heavy the Easybeats version was, right? But again, the production just doesn't. It's just not as good as that Earl Mankey production, I think. The guitars are just right, and it's Easybeats version is obviously a product of its time, right?
Mhm.
So like you're not going to get that kind of sort of bigger, distorted, sustained guitar sound that you're going to get on a later recording. But again, I think Frank kind of covered it. They kind of did it to a T. I think they did it justice. You don't listen to it and go like, wow, that's a fail.
Right.
Like by any stretch of the imagination. Right. And I think they kept all the energy of the original. Right.
Nice.
And sounds far more British than the Easybeats version, but might have something to do with the vocal.
That's hilarious.
Could be.
So Jerry, well, I'm guessing that both versions are relatively new for you, the 3 o'clock and the Easybeats.
Yes, they're separate by maybe 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I prefer the 3 o'clock version because I guess studio wise, and that's 16, 17 years later after the Easybeats. So obviously you're going to have more. To me, I prefer the 3 o'clock. It's just more clean, deeper, and that's just because of the time. I'm sure. It's 15, 16 years later. I'm sure there's more tracks, there's more stuff available. But it's a great song regardless of who's doing it. But I do prefer the 3 o'clock version of Sorry. I do. Yep.
Soraya, what are your thoughts on these 2 versions?
2 versions are great. I prefer 3 o'clock, but again, it's because I have an emotional attachment to Baroque Down, to that particular cover. But when you hear it, you're like, this rocks just as well.
Yes.
I like it when Luis Gutierrez just goes off. And I've seen this song done live numerous times, and it does not disappoint at all.
I bet.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I definitely fall into the same camp as you, Soraya, and Jim, you're in the same boat. But I had no idea who this band was, the original version, when I bought Roko Down. It just sounded like it fit with the other 4 songs that were on the record. So it felt to me like it belonged on the 3 o'clock record. So I just felt it was their song, and I think that, to me, maybe it's because I heard it first. They just own it. They own Sorry. But the original version has such a great vibe to it. Production issues notwithstanding, but it's just so fun and just a great way to start off the record. So I'm a huge fan, and we I did want to mention one thing before we go. We have a few minutes left. That all the songs were co-written not only by George Young, the older brother of Angus and Malcolm, but Stevie Wright, who was the lead singer of the band, and they co-wrote all of these.
Wow.
They're definitely a co-writing team. It sounds like George Young was definitely more of a collaborator type writer rather than a singer-songwriter, because as Jim mentioned with Flash in the Pan and apparently a bunch of other bands that with Vanda, who he co-wrote for it, most of his songs are co-writing projects and not solo written. So
Hey, can I just put this in your guys' ear just for a second, because it dawned on me while I was listening to this album earlier today. I would love to hear someone like Jack White cover the whole album because of all those those great riffs and everything, and his style of playing and singing, because he kind of wails a little bit when he sings. And I think that would be a great, great album to listen to.
All right. Need to shoot off an email to Jack tonight. And...
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Or next time you're having burritos with them.
There you go.
Good idea.
All right. So any last thoughts? I know we only have a couple of minutes left.
I just want to know, what do you guys think? So what is the girl's name in Sorry? Had a date at 7 with a girl named, what's her name?
Oh, what did they say? He's got somebody other's name on there, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he said had a date at 7 with a girl named.
Yeah.
So what's her name?
Sorry.
Sorry. When I sing it, I say Fleur.
Fleur. Well, that's how it's spelled in the lyrics.
Fleur. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because sometimes people say Flo. Her name is Flo.
Fleur.
Fleur.
Yeah.
Flower in French.
There you go.
Soraya.
Oh, Fleur, Fluer.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to say it in French for Jerry.
They're all
Very good. Yeah.
So,
No, thank you so
Very
much
good.
for joining us and for talking about this great album. We're so
Thanks
glad,
for
Jerry,
having
that we
us.
turned you on to another album.
We
You did.
appreciate
You guys did.
we appreciate the charity of you letting us come on your show.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you for being generous and letting us go there.
That's going to be fun.
we also wanted to thank the 3 o'clock and Broke
Yes.
Down album for being a jumping off point. And Frank, thank you for picking that as your classic pick on the
That was great.
Yep.
Great eye opener.
Yep.
Cool.
And I am looking forward to watching many more episodes from you guys. So
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Likewise.
Jim, stay off anything with wheels on it because we want you to stay healthy and hopefully you recover soon from that.
Should have stayed inside.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All
And
right.
Soraya, I'll keep hammering away at Frank so that we can do that Def Leppard episode that you want to do so badly.
Oh yeah.
We'll have to do that when I'm at Jerry's house so that we can pregame if we're going to do the Def Leppard.
and I won't let him go anywhere. I'm bigger.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you
This is
guys.
gonna be
Thank you
fun.
guys.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was a lot of fun, Soraya.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
2 good albums, 2 fun episodes, and always a pleasure to be joined by Jim, Jerry, and Jeff and Frank.
Yeah, and Frank. Yeah.
See, it's like I gotta go Jim, Jerry, Jeff,
Right.
Frank, Soraya.
right. Yeah, so it's always a blast when we have those guys on. Those guys are fun to hang out with and fun to listen to their podcast. So
Yeah.
they will cover one classic rock album every episode, and each one of the 3 of them will pick some new artist or some artist that's new to them or relatively undiscovered for most people, and play a song by each one of them. But they're always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Watching their episodes. So JFJ Conspiracy Podcast, check them out if you don't know them already, and for sure check out their most recent episode, which will be part 1 of this discussion.
Yeah.
They were a blast.
They're always fun. And I like hearing their thoughts around, especially stuff like recording.
Yeah.
It's always a refreshing point of view. So
Yeah, and each one of the 3 of them are musicians. So Jim is primarily bass guitarist. Jerry's a drummer, and Frank, who goes by the artist name Shakin' Abe. Check him out. So he's
Yes.
put out lots of CDs that are worth checking out. He's a guitarist, plays everything, singer, writes
He
all.
does it all.
He does it all. Yeah.
And extremely creative too. And I'll also add, for those of you who are on Facebook, Frank does a series called Pick of the Day.
Oh,
And he has a fun video series of particular songs or albums that he picks each day. Worth your time.
yeah, and it's only 2 minutes a day,
It's
and
a lot of fun.
on Fridays you get Frank's dad jokes. So
That's right.
if nothing else, chime in on his Friday. So yeah, some of those are pretty funny, and most of them just make you shake your head. So, but if nothing else, Frank is really good about delivering
Absolutely.
those jokes. So
100%.
I love all
Well,
three of those guys. So
Well, Jeff, I think we have a new idea now.
uh-oh.
I think we get to bring the boys back on, and we're going to force Frank to listen to the birds.
Yes.
I have no problem of sitting him down and letting him enjoy, because if he's gonna tell me that he will not listen to them and not enjoy it, I have a problem with that, because I think he would. And he's a guitar man. How are you not going to enjoy the guitar licks on a Birds album?
Yeah, and listen to some of the songs on this album. So Mr. Tambourine Man, everybody knows.
Okay.
Feel a whole lot better. The Bells of Rimney, the song is
Yes.
All I Really Want to Do.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course, everybody knows it. Chimes of Freedom. There's so many great songs on this record. But yeah, we like Frank.
We love Frank.
We do like Frank, but I think he deserves that.
Look, if anything else, it would be a spirited debate.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot deny that Frank, as a guitar man, is going to find things to really enjoy. And I'm sorry, it is hard to say I'm a guitar lover, but I won't listen to the Birds. No, you got to, because what you hear on a Birds album is different, and it's unique, and especially for that time. I mean, it takes you into a different part, and you got it. So I think we have our next joint project with the JFJ.
I like that idea.
I think we're gonna bring Frank over to the dark side, or the light side. The light side.
As it were.
One of us.
I love that idea. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm curious if they would be interested in accepting that challenge.
I think they would. I think they're fair. They'll give things a listen.
Yeah. Yep.
And and I'm sure they're going to approach us with something I've probably never heard.
Well,
and I will do the same.
It sounds like Def Leppard is in your future. So
I said it as a joke, but I will still listen to it. Def Leppard, Scorpions, Rammstein, what do you want? I'll listen to it.
Nice.
But anyways, I think we have to have a Birds joint listen.
Oh my gosh. I'm game for that, Soraya.
I don't know. I think I'll have to we'll have to have some negotiations with a mediator.
Yeah.
And Frank, but I think it can be done. But anyways, I digress. This was a lot of fun. Always fun. And if if you haven't listened to the Easybeats Volume 3, you should. And it is available. I think Jerry mentioned it. It's available via streaming. But also there are quite a few copies out circulating through various venues and entities. So, it's worth your time. And if nothing else, YouTube.
Yep. It is. Yep. The whole thing is available on YouTube.
Yeah. Easybeats, I think, is it's a band that a lot of people sleep on.
Certainly
And-
Americans.
Yeah, and I think it's worthy of the listen and attention, because I think they really did bring something very unique and very different
Yeah, and
to
especially
this cycle.
especially any fans of like mid-60s guitar music, and this is right up your alley. It's a very fun listen.
100%.
All right, Soraya, we just did double episodes back to back.
Whew. We need a break.
We do need a break.
All right, mi gente, agrubiar.
Groove on, Paisley people. No. So
Frank doesn't roll that way.
Nope.
No,
That's my bedtime now, folks.
yeah.
well,